Hey everyone, it's your girl E. I wanted to talk. I was thinking all day about this topic, and I wanted to chit chat and see like how y'all feel. I was a person that would self sabotage a lot when I was younger. And I don't know, we don't talk about it enough, in my opinion. I mean, at least I don't see the conversations around it enough. And I wanted to, I guess, add to whatever conversation that was going on, if so. But when I was younger, yeah, I would self sabotage. I 110% did it. And even when I was doing it, I couldn't stop myself. And looking back at like my life and the decisions I made based on the fact that I was doing things against myself is just sometimes it's like sometimes mind-boggling for me, because I'm like, why was I so dead set on doing things the opposite way? So I wanted to talk to anyone who, feels like they self-sabotage good things that happen in their life and things that are really just meant for them. And I think in my opinion, it has a lot to do with self-worth. And in my case, it had a lot to do with not feeling worthy enough for fill in the blank for whatever it was that I was sabotaging at the time. It was relationships. It was, even things like apologies people gave, like things that people give me. I'm like, I'm so like, oh my God, no, you don't have to worry about, like, just so not willing to have anything good for myself because I didn't feel like I deserved it. So I always would just, reject the good things or reject the things that made me feel good. And I did that for a long time. Like, it took me a long time to really finally get to know myself, because I rejected everything around that. I rejected people that wanted to get to know me. I rejected friends that I felt like were good for me, or I guess too good for me. I'm like, I don't deserve friends like this. Like, no way. So I would just sabotage a lot. Sabotage relationships, sabotage opportunities a lot of the time. And it really, to be honest with you, it took my healing journey, and it took me really being honest with myself about what was happening and what I was doing. And it took me observing my patterns of behavior. So like I was saying before, like, people would be like, oh my God, let me take you out. You did whatever for me. And I'd be like, no, it's okay. It's good. When deep down inside, I'm like, oh my God, that's so nice. I would love to go, but I'm like, no, I don't deserve it. Like, no, I don't deserve it. And, that's something that if you're dealing with it really, you have to work on it, because what will happen is these good things will come and they will pass you by. They will pass you by because essentially you're not ready to receive it. Whatever that thing is, if it's a person, if it's an opportunity, it doesn't matter. It will just pass you by because you're not willing to take the opportunity for it. Even gifts you have, understandings that you have, talents that you have, they would just sit by the wayside almost. Well, not even almost, for sure, because you won't feel like you're good enough to use your skills. You won't feel like you're good enough to fit into places. You won't feel like you belong anywhere because you will, think that maybe I'm not good enough to be around these people, or maybe I'm not good enough to be here. Maybe I'm not good enough to work here. Maybe I'm not good enough to be in this relationship. I'm not good enough for this person. So then you just start doing things that are not aligned with what you want. Because that was like it was almost like I was sometimes a prisoner to my own actions. Like I couldn't, and tell me if you agree. If you're a self-sabotage or you used to self-sabotage, because I don't resonate with any of this now. I do want to receive all my blessings, and I do want to have the best people, in my corner and be in their corner and stuff like that. But, before it was hard because I couldn't imagine anything good for me. I didn't think it was possible, and I didn't even want to even think about it or even dream about it, or even like it was just like, nope, that's not meant for me. I would see other people doing things that I clearly probably could do, but nope, not meant for me. Nope, I can't do that. Nope, you won't even. The thing about self-sabotaging too is that any situation that you deem too good for you, you're gonna look away from it or not want to give it any attention, and yeah, it can really do damage on you, and you can really end up in worse predicaments later on because you chose to bet against yourself. And you have to if this is something that is bothering you, my advice based on my experience would be, number one, you have to recognize that it's a problem. Like the first step is recognition. A lot of what I did in the beginning was observe myself, my thoughts, my actions, anything that I was doing that was just like that I felt like was odd behavior for myself. Like I'm like, nope, you're not for doing this. Like I made it a mission to have essentially a list of like odd behavior that I was doing against myself, and kind of dig into why I was doing that. So I'd be like, say for instance, someone tries to give me something and I'm like, oh no, it's okay, you don't have to. I would jot that down. Okay, that's a moment where I could have received a blessing. Why am I saying no to it? In my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is like the coolest thing ever. They thought about me, they given me this. But for some reason, now I can't accept this blessing because I don't feel worthy enough for it. So why don't I feel worthy? Where is that coming from? So I started asking myself questions. I started, just kind of getting to the root of the problem, basically, based on my experiences. And then I started to, affirm to myself that I do deserve these things. Because also now it's time, once you've realized the issue, it's time to rewire your brain now, because you're like, okay, I'm going from undeserving to deserving. How does that work? Because you can't just switch things. So you have to start with little steps. You start with, doing little things for yourself that show yourself that you're deserving. I started out doing little self-care things, little masks, and whatever I indulged in that made me happy. The coloring, I started buying plants and started taking care of them, and that made me feel better because it was encouraging me and making me feel like, oh wow, I do deserve these plants. These plants are growing in my care and they're doing so well, and things like so. Getting into things that make you feel good about yourself for me, plant care was it, because I was killing a whole bunch of plants. And then when I finally started like taking care of them well and they started growing and thriving, I felt proud of myself. And that gave me, another like kind of like a check mark of ting, like, oh my gosh, I did that, and I'm doing good with this and it's working out for me. So then I can, do something else. I feel my confidence is building, and I feel that that love for myself growing. So that's another thing I did. Another thing I did was, start accepting, like I said, accept what you would have otherwise rejected, but not accepting to the point where you're just letting anything through the door. So you have to still have a level of discernment, right? And you still got to figure out if this is the best thing for you. Are you accepting something from someone who maybe expects something back in return and you don't want to give anything in return? So you got to weigh your options and be smart about the decisions you make, but also do it with the thought of yourself and the thought of how much this, would help you, or how much, how much you do deserve it. Like how much, it'll be okay if you give yourself this thing and if you accept this thing for yourself. And if discernment's good, then you're good to go. And also, another thing that I started doing was giving myself time within the day to just unpack things that have happened in that day, or unpack things that have happened in the past. It's really important to do, because the past is a lot of the reasons why we're wired the way we are, which means it's indicative of our thoughts and our actions. It's showing us a direct reflection from the past to the present of the reason behind the action, or the reason behind the inaction. So, yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I wanted to say for the self-sabotaging aspect. The key point here, though, is honesty, and it's respect for yourself. The moment I started realizing how icky my thoughts were towards myself, I realized that was like a problem, because when you start observing like what you're saying, how you're saying it, what you're thinking, it is a game changer. I'm telling you now. And that honesty on the side is just like the icing on top. It shows you the level of toxicity in the way you think about yourself and the way you talk to yourself, and it gives you an opportunity to course correct. And it gives you an opportunity to change things that seem normal to you, because for a long time, I didn't. I'm like, what? I would have sworn to you like up and down before I started my journey that, I would never talk to myself in the manner in which I did. And it even surprised me. Like, some of my thoughts even surprised me, because some of these thoughts are just running in the background. And it isn't until you tap in that you really be like, oh snap. Like, what am I saying? Like, what am I thinking right now? Like, but yeah, just remember that, give yourself grace. You aren't your thoughts. You aren't these thoughts. These thoughts are just, passing through like a cloud or something. They're just passing through. You are not resonating with those thoughts on a level that you resonate with yourself on. And once you realize, like, I'm not bad or evil or cruel or mean because of these thoughts. They are just a product of the things that I've gone through in my past and how I feel about myself based on actions or inactions of myself or other people. It's just learned behavior over time that you're just trying to dismantle, basically. And once you do, you feel so much free, because the anxiety of those crushing, like, self-sabotaging blows, it really does sting, and it really does hurt. So getting to the other side of that and realizing that you are deserving of everything you think you are, it's really worth it. And I hope you do. If you're listening and you have the issue of self-sabotage, I hope you get it. You get it under your foot and you stomp that hoe out. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening, and until